Two people can earn the same income, live in the same city, and face the same opportunities. Yet one slowly builds wealth, while the other stays stuck in financial stress for decades. The difference is rarely intelligence. It's rarely luck. It's something far quieter. A pattern of thinking, repeated so often, that it rewires how the brain sees money, risk, and opportunity. And once that wiring changes, wealth stops feeling accidental and starts feeling inevitable. In this video, we'll explore how money is shaped not just by markets and income, but by psychology. We'll look at how the brain makes financial decisions, why most people are trained to think about money in ways that limit them, and how subtle mental shifts can dramatically change long-term outcomes. This isn't about motivation or hustle. It's about training your mind to work with money instead of against it. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Money is not primarily a math problem, it's a behavior problem. Economists and behavioral researchers have found that financial outcomes are driven less by knowledge and more by habit. People don't fail financially because they don't understand interest rates. They fail because their brains are wired for short-term comfort instead of long-term growth. The modern world rewards impulse, but wealth rewards patience. This tension is where most people lose. How the brain was never designed for modern money. The human brain evolved to survive scarcity. Thousands of years ago, consuming resources immediately made sense. Tomorrow was uncertain. The future was dangerous. But money flips that logic. Saving, investing, and delaying gratification feel unnatural, because they are unnatural to the brain's original design. This is why spending feels easy, and building wealth feels mentally exhausting. Your brain is doing what it evolved to do, just in the wrong environment. Here's where it gets interesting: scarcity thinking. Scarcity thinking is the belief that money is always about to run out. It creates urgency, anxiety, short-term decisions. People trapped in scarcity thinking focus on avoiding loss instead of building value. This leads to fear-based spending, avoidance of investing, constant comparison, risk paralysis. Ironically, scarcity thinking makes scarcity last longer. Training your brain to make more money begins with recognizing this pattern and slowly replacing it with a long-term framework. The wealthy think in timelines, not transactions. One of the most consistent patterns observed in wealthy individuals is time horizon. Short-term thinkers ask, "How much does this cost today?" Long-term thinkers ask, "What does this decision cost me over 10 years?" This subtle shift changes everything. A small daily expense doesn't feel dangerous until it's viewed as a decade-long habit. A boring investment doesn't feel exciting until it's viewed as future freedom. The brain doesn't naturally think in decades. It has to be trained to. Let's talk about delayed reward. Delayed gratification is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success, not just financially, but across life. The ability to tolerate boredom, slow progress, and invisible growth is a financial superpower. Markets reward people who can wait. Careers reward people who can compound skills quietly. Businesses reward people who can reinvest instead of extract early profits. Most people abandon strategies right before they start working, because the brain craves feedback. Training your brain for money means learning to trust processes without immediate rewards. But there's a twist. Confidence is not optimism. Many people confuse financial confidence with blind positivity. But the wealthy aren't optimistic. They're prepared. They understand downside risk. They expect volatility. They assume setbacks. This reduces emotional reactions. When markets fall, panic destroys untrained minds. Trained minds see fluctuation, not catastrophe. Confidence comes from understanding systems, not believing everything will work out. How repetition rewires financial behavior. Neuroscience shows that repeated actions create neural shortcuts. This is why habits feel automatic. The goal isn't willpower, it's automation. People who build wealth remove emotion from routine decisions. Automatic investing, automatic saving, fixed spending rules. Once decisions become habits, the brain stops negotiating. Wealth grows not through constant discipline, but through systems that don't require discipline. The role of identity in money. Here's something rarely discussed in financial education. People act in alignment with who they believe they are. If someone sees themselves as bad with money, their brain looks for evidence to confirm it. If someone sees themselves as a long-term builder, their choices slowly reflect that identity. This isn't affirmation, it's psychology. Training your brain to make more money often starts with changing the story you tell yourself about money. Identity precedes behavior. Why risk feels scarier than it is? The brain overestimates risk it doesn't understand. Investing feels dangerous not because it is, but because it's unfamiliar. Once patterns become familiar, fear declines. This is why exposure matters. Small, consistent exposure to investing, skill building, or ownership retrains the brain's threat response. The goal isn't eliminating fear, it's shrinking it through understanding. Let's talk about leverage, but mental leverage. The most powerful leverage isn't financial, it's mental. Learning how money compounds, understanding incentives, recognizing asymmetry. Once your brain understands that small advantages repeated over time produce outsized outcomes, patience becomes easier. The mind stops chasing miracles and starts respecting mathematics. Why comparison breaks financial focus? Modern media constantly showcases outcomes without context. The brain compares timelines it can't see to its own slow progress. This creates discouragement. But wealth is rarely linear. It grows quietly, then suddenly. People who succeed financially often look average, right until they don't. Training your brain means resisting the urge to measure progress against someone else's highlight reel. The calm advantage. One of the least discussed wealth advantages is emotional calm. Calm allows clarity. Clarity allows consistency. Consistency allows compounding. Emotional reactions are expensive. Calm decisions are profitable. The brain trained for money is not aggressive, it's patient. When you step back, a simple pattern emerges. Money doesn't flow toward intelligence alone. It flows toward behavior repeated long enough. The brain trained for wealth thinks long-term in a short-term world. It builds systems instead of relying on motivation. It values patience over excitement. Wealth isn't created by one bold decision, but by thousands of quiet ones. And the most important investment isn't financial capital. It's mental conditioning. Because once your brain is trained to see time, risk, and opportunity clearly, money stops feeling unpredictable. It starts behaving exactly as it should. If you found this perspective valuable, consider subscribing for more calm, cinematic explorations into how money, psychology, and systems quietly shape our financial lives. This is Cold Insight. Thanks for listening.